Hey, what's up everybody? It's Izzy from PowerliftingToWin.com, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a full review of Mike Tuchscherer's reactive training systems. Now, for those of you who don't know who Mike Tuchscherer is, he is an IPF competitor who holds multiple national titles, multiple world records, and IPF World Championships. In 2009, he became the first American male to win the gold medal in powerlifting at the World Games. He's coached 12 national champions, 2 IPF world record holders, and countless lifters have set PRs using his methods. Just to give you an idea of Mike's ability, at the 2014 Arnold Classic, he totaled 2,020 in the 264-pound weight class on a 2-hour weigh-in. His PRs add up to a raw total of over 2,100, and this is drug tested in the IPF. Most traditional powerlifting programs have pre-written prescribed sets, reps, and weights. An entire 16-week training cycle may be written out in advance. Assuming that the lifter's conditions don't change and that they make progress at a predictable rate, this isn't actually a problem at all. However, I've yet to meet a single lifter who never gets sick, never forgets their pre-workout, never has a fight with their girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. I mean, something is going to happen during your training cycle. We've all had the experience of having good days and bad days. On bad days, you simply can't go as heavy as you normally could. You simply can't do as much volume as you normally could. And you just kind of suck. Now, on good days, it's the exact opposite. Usually you're just feeling awesome and you can hit heavier weights than normal and you're able to do much more volume than normal. Now, the problem with traditional programming is that it doesn't allow for this level of variation. Most programs just completely ignore the good day, bad day variable, and that variable is called an athlete's level of readiness. Older hats in the powerlifting game will do something called listening to their body, and by listening to their body, older lifters know when to push themselves hard and when to pull back. It's based on how the weights are feeling that day. It's fine and all to say listen to your body, but how do you teach that to a newer intermediate lifter? Perhaps more importantly, isn't there some way that we can measure and objectify listening to your body so that it just isn't completely by instinct? RTS offers a potential solution to the readiness problem by incorporating the use of subjective indicators. The very foundation of RTS is RPE, which is a subjective indicator that tells us how hard something was. RPE stands for rate of perceived exertion, and in lifting terms, your RPE means how many reps you had left in the tank. So if you did a set of 5 and you felt like you had 1 rep left, that would be an RPE of 9. If you felt like you had 2 reps left, that would be an RPE 8, and if you had 3 reps left, that would be an RPE 7, and so on and so forth. Now, why is this important? Well, instead of using a hypothetical percentage that may or may not have any bearing on what we're capable of that day, we can use the weight and reps and RPE to accurately infer our 1RM on any single day. So for example, if I work up to a set of 405 by 5 at 9, I know that I had 1 rep left in the tank. That means that for that day, 405 is approximately my 6 rep max. All I have to do is look up in the RPE to intensity relationship chart approximately what percent a by 5 at 9 is. And once I do that, I know where my 1RM is for the day. Now this works in both directions. Let's say I want a lifter to work in the 80 to 85% range. Rather than just multiplying their last meet max by 80 or 85%, what I can do is I can tell them to work up to a set of 5 at 8 to 9. That would mean a set of 5 with 1 to 2 reps left in the tank. I know that's approximately a 6 to 7 rep max, which neatly corresponds into that 80 to 85% range. Now I'm going to put a link to this in the description box as well, but really quickly, here is the RPE intensity relationship chart. So you can see all you got to do is know your rep and RPE combination. If you did a set of 6 at 8, meaning 6 with 2 in the tank, you'd go to 6 and then a crossover to 8 and see that's 79%. And you can get an accurate 1RM for any combination. In my opinion, the true genius of the RTS system lies in the concepts of fatigue and fatigue management. Before we can discuss fatigue, let's talk about the typical issues associated with the way that volume is normally prescribed. If I tell a lifter to do 405 for 5 sets of 5 on Monday, we know exactly how much work he did, but what we don't know is what effect that work had. For an older lifter with poor recovery abilities, a 5x5 may be crippling. For a young guy who's eating like mad, 5x5 may not be enough to even constitute a stressor. Now, even for the exact same lifter, on some days 5x5 may be too much, and on other days 5x5 is not enough. When you prescribe volume in advance, you're really just guessing and hoping at the effect of the prescription. In RTS, instead of prescribing a specific amount of volume, you prescribe a specific amount of fatigue. Here's how it works. Let's say a lifter works up to a set of 500 by 5 at an RPE of 9. This is called their initial for the day. It sets their baseline performance. We know where they started. Now, if I want to accumulate 5% fatigue, what I would do is I would take 5% off of the bar and strip it down to 475. Now, I would repeat sets at 475 until the RPE of those sets became at 9. For example, on my first set of 475, it might be at 8, so I know I haven't accumulated that much fatigue yet. But maybe on my second set, 475 becomes at 9, and at that point, my performance has dropped 5% and I've accumulated 5% fatigue. So in this way, we can measure the effect that the volume we're prescribing is having on any given training session. This allows us to get precisely the level of stress that we want. So for you older lifters, 5% fatigue, that might only take 1 set. Now for younger lifters, you might be doing 10 sets. Who knows? The point is that whatever you do, both in terms of intensity and volume, are completely auto-regulated in RTS based on your personal abilities on that day. Therein lies the power of RTS. If you're capable of a 20 or 30 pound PR that day, you'll have to do it in order to hit your prescribed RPEs for the day. Now, if you're having a terrible day, you're going to hit your prescribed RPEs a lot faster and you're going to prevent yourself from going too heavy and overtraining. Similarly, in terms of volume, if you're well recovered, you'll do more volume. If you're not, you won't. And not only that, but as you become more and more conditioned over time, it's going to take you more sets to hit your prescribed amount of fatigue. So there's a built-in growth mechanism right in the system. Whereas we know that if you just keep doing 5x5 forever, eventually that stops being enough to work. Now RTS does have one really significant drawback. Unlike other programs that have prescribed sets and reps, the user has to be brutally honest with themselves as well as hungry for improvement. Because if I tell you to do 405 for 5 sets of 5, there's really little way that you can mess that up besides just not doing what I tell you. But if I tell you to work up to a set of 5 at 9 and you're just kind of being a puss that day, well, you're going to call an 8 a 9 so you don't have to go as heavy. If I want you to do 5% fatigue and you don't feel like working hard, you might call an 8 a 9 so you don't have to do as much volume. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. And it goes the other way too. A lot of lifters will always say, oh, I could have done 1 more rep. I know I could have. Well, you have to be sure. Now, anytime you do something new, there's also going to be a skill element. And I can tell you from firsthand experience that if you're not used to thinking about RPEs in very precise terms, you're just not going to be very good at rating them at first. It's very intuitive and you'll learn quickly, but there is an adjustment period, there's no doubt about it. So RTS really requires mental and physical strength, because if you're not objective about your RPE ratings, the system won't work properly for you. Now, as much as it pains me to say this, because I'd like to see you guys supporting Mike in whatever way possible, he truly deserves it, I don't recommend that you start off with the RTS Manual. First of all, it's about an 80-page booklet and it's going to run you $40. Second of all, most of the information that you need to actually run RTS is available for free on the Reactive Training Systems website. I'll put a link to that in the description box. If after you've read all of the articles and you want further understanding, particularly of the more advanced concepts, then I'd have to say that the manual is worth checking out. One last note about the manual that I'd like to make is that it is a bit out of date. It's clear that if you compare it to the RTS Generalized Intermediate program, that the organization of the training is slightly different. Perhaps most significantly, Mike doesn't really recommend an upper to lower body split anymore. His training programs are full body. Well, in my personal opinion, RTS is currently the best available system out there. Tuchscherer has developed the cutting edge of powerlifting programming, in my opinion. I believe in this style so much that I actually signed up to work one-on-one with Mike as my coach. There's only one problem. I wasn't the first one to have that idea. He's got an extensive waiting list. RTS is the real deal. I'll be using the Generalized Intermediate program to prepare for my next meet, which is USPA Nationals in July. I'm going to put a link to Reactive Training Systems in the description box, and you guys should all do yourself a favor and make sure that you check it out. If you guys found this content interesting, informative, or useful, please like it, share it, send it out into the interwebs for me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to check out PowerliftingToWin.com for more great powerlifting information. Have a nice day.